Okay, here's a thought. What if one of history's most pivotal figures, Julius Caesar, what if he had this mysterious mentor, someone ageless, guiding his every step? Sounds kind of wild, right? Well, today we're doing a deep dive into excerpts from Maya and Caesar. It's this really interesting novella that explores exactly that idea, the surprising influence of this character, Maya, on Caesar's life, and, well, her story's legacy, too. So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack a really crucial moment in Roman history and explore the whole complex nature of trust, loyalty, all that, and maybe discover the lasting impact of, a mentor's guidance. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, you set that up perfectly. What's so compelling about this source, this novella, is how it zooms in. It uses this one really high-stakes conversation back in 49 BC. And through that, it just illuminates so much about power, politics, and honestly, how fragile personal bonds were in Rome. It really gives us a unique lens on that moment.
Absolutely. So let's picture it. It's a bitter January evening, Ravenna, 49 BC. Julius Caesar is in his command tent, and you can just feel the tension. He's just gotten this chilling message.
Sorry.
His tribunes, right, the guys representing the people in Rome,
Yeah, his political allies, essentially.
they failed, and they've actually fled the city. So you can sense this cold reality of political betrayal just eating at him. He's about to leave Gaul, where he'd been fighting, and head back to a Rome that's just full of treachery, and who's right there with his loyal friends, his ageless mentor, Maya. The novella portrays her as this kind of bastion of wisdom, of fidelity in his life.
A steady presence.
Exactly. And Caesar turns right to her. He asks, "Ah, Maya, do you not age? I've received word from the Senate that I must return to Rome." He goes on, Pompey, that master of political maneuvering, he was once a close ally of a famous general, too,
Huge figure.
is now aligned with the Senate, that's the Roman governing body, and threatens to brand me a criminal for waging unsanctioned wars. And then he laments, in our society, trust is the very lifeblood of loyalty, and yet Pompey's ambition has shattered that bond. You can tell it cuts really deep.
Oh, it absolutely does. And what's so crucial to grasp here, I think, is that Roman society wasn't just, laws on paper. It was built on this incredibly complex web of personal promises, alliances. Fades, they called it, trust, honor.
Right, fades.
So when someone like Pompey breaks that covenant, and it really was seen as a sacred pact, it's not just politics. It's like a tear in the whole social fabric. It threatens the moral core of their world,
Wow.
a deep expectation of loyalty. Well, once that trust vanished, civil war was almost, inevitable. It shows how much weight those bonds carried.
And Maya's reaction to all this, it's described as so calm, really centered, even while Caesar's clearly despairing. She just says, Julius, Pompey has embraced the art of politics, where loyalty is measured by shifting alliances and ever-changing fortunes. The book really stresses her unwavering support for him right from when he was young. It says she's been this trusted advisor whose advice never faltered, even when, quote, fate itself seemed unyielding. And she urges him, you must return to Rome with your victors intact. The bonds of trust demand that we preserve what remains, even as the winds of change threaten to tear us apart.
Preservation in the face of change. It's a powerful idea.
But Caesar's worry, it just seems to get deeper. He's quiet for a long moment. You get the sense of this weariness, the weight of betrayal just etched on his face, and then he murmurs almost to himself, Pompey, you know me, my family, the legacy of our shared honor. Why has he forsaken the sacred trust that binds our world? And here's where it gets really heavy. He warns that Pompey's treachery threatens, his words, a civil war that will consume tens of thousands. The scale of that, what he's foreseeing, it's just immense.
It really highlights the incredible pressure he was under, just enormous. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it, what options did a leader like Caesar really have when faced with that kind of fundamental betrayal?
Yeah.
The novella talks about Caesar's weariness, of a man burdened by the weight of betrayal and the constant need for fidelity among his peers. It mentions how memories of past lessons surged in Caesar's mind times when loyalty had been his guiding star, and betrayal, a bitter lesson etched in the annals of history. So this wasn't just like a strategic problem. It was a crisis of conscience. It challenged their whole Roman worldview built on honor and this idea of the covenant.
That weight just hangs in the air as his friends start to leave the tent. But even as it empties, Caesar has one more thing, a really crucial task. It's a private request, just for Maya. He leans towards her, the novella says, and in this hushed tone, he says, I need you to do something for me. He tells her to make sure that Gaius Octavius Thurinus gets the finest education. And he specifies who this is, the son of my niece Accia, raised by my dear sister Julia.
And it's so telling, isn't it, how his foresight goes beyond just the immediate crisis, the immediate military moves. He's thinking generations ahead.
Yeah, really long term.
Yeah. And this finest education, it wasn't just about, learning the art of war. That was part of it, sure. But it explicitly included the virtues of wisdom, loyalty, and the delicate balance of trust.
Hmm.
And Caesar's reason is crystal clear. These lessons are vital, he says, for our future depends on those who can navigate the treachery of men. And what's just fascinating historically is that this young kid, Gaius Octavius Thurinus, well, he grows up to become Augustus, Rome's first emperor.
Wow, okay.
So Caesar is quite literally investing in the character of the next generation of leadership, knowing how vital that is, especially after experiencing such betrayal.
And Maya, true to her character as depicted, just quietly takes it all in, absorbs every nuance. The book emphasizes her role wasn't just being an observer, she was the silent guardian of destiny, it says. The one who mended the fractures of loyalty and trust with her unerring guidance.
Powerful image.
Yeah. And as Caesar sends her off to get some rest, his last words to her really hammer home the significance of what's coming. Now go rest, Maya. Tomorrow we embark on a path from which there is no return. Crossing the Rubicon.
The point of no return. So reflecting on that whole scene,
Mm-hmm.
what can we take away about Maya's influence? I mean, even with all the political chaos swirling around Rome, the shifting alliances, everything, her presence, as described, seems to offer this kind of steady beacon for Caesar.
Yeah, like an anchor.
Exactly. And her role wasn't just about, giving comforting words. It seems more strategic. It's about reinforcing his core values, especially right after this huge betrayal. And maybe that highlights something crucial about real mentorship. It doesn't just give advice. It helps to rebuild and anchor those fundamental principles when everything else feels like it's crumbling, making sure that even in the middle of betrayal, values like honor and fidelity could still somehow guide the future.
So this deep dive into Maya and Caesar, it really shows just how absolutely critical trust and loyalty were in ancient Roman society, and how their breakdown, well, it could lead to utter disaster, like the civil war Caesar was so afraid of.
Which kind of leads us to think about our own world, right? I mean, today, information flies around instantly. Alliances can shift so fast. It raises a question for you, listening. How do you figure out who and what to trust? And how do you maintain that trust, whether it's, in your personal life, at work, or even with the news sources you rely on?
Yeah, that's a really good point. And maybe one final thought to leave you with. Think about the long-term ripple effect of mentorship and education, not just on the person being mentored, but on, well, history itself. Could there be unexpected figures, maybe like this fictional Maya, quietly shaping the future right now? Behind the scenes, just by instilling virtues like loyalty, wisdom, trust. What does it really mean to invest in the future by educating its leaders, especially when times feel so uncertain? Something to think about.